Well, welcome everybody to another segment of Lewis at Large. Yours truly, Warner Lewis from the flight deck. And of course, that means some smart talk radio is in your future. And this segment is certainly no exception. We're very excited to have with us for this segment actress and singer Laura Pursell. She has released an exciting, really spectacular new work called The Very Last Dance Hall Left in L.A. Now, if you don't know Laura Pursell by name yet, you will soon. She's out on the West Coast, but she is Nashville bred for sure. She has a very famous father, Bill Pursell, who wrote quite a few of the arrangements and played piano on all the tracks on this album. But Bill has a storied career, not only as a composer and a session musician and arranger for everybody from Patsy Cline, Johnny Paycheck, Eric Anderson, Willie Nelson, Dan Fogelberg, and many, many more. And we will talk about her relationship with her father as well. Laura, how are you, my friend?
I'm good, Warner. How are you?
Well, it must have been special being raised in a home with a professional musician. Tell us about that.
Well, it's funny you should ask because you are calling me in Nashville right now. I'm actually visiting my parents as we speak. I came back from my high school reunion and I'm spending time with my parents. So I'm in Nashville right now, and it's bringing back a lot of memories. It was a very unusual upbringing.
Well, I'll bet. Here's one thing I am curious about. Dad was on the road, I'm sure, a bunch, also in the studio a bunch, and studios don't necessarily work 8 to 5. And so Did Dad ever come see Laura play soccer, or did Dad come see Laura play volleyball or be in the play?
Dad was always at home working. He was, from the time until he went to teach at Belmont University, he was constantly at home in the back. We were sort of forbidden to go into the back room because that was my dad's office, and that's where he would be writing, doing jingles, doing arrangements. He was doing session work quite a bit, but he was really the stay-at-home dad. But he wasn't. No, he wasn't the kind of guy to go out and hit a ball in the backyard. That really wasn't Dad. I used to figure skate, and I did competitions and things like that, and I think he saw me skate one time. But for the most part, he was very, very devoted to his music, and with crazy hours. We'd be going to bed upstairs, getting ready for school the next morning, and he would be downstairs playing Rachmaninoff concertos. That was how he kept his chops up. So to this day, I can pretty much hum the Rachmaninoff 3 because I've heard it so many times. It was different. It was very different, and he was classically trained, so there was all kinds of music coming out of the house at all hours. Very different.
Was your
I used to.
Well, go ahead. Keep going.
I was going to say, I used to wonder what it must be like to have a dad who went to the office and put on a suit. And I never experienced that.
Was your mother? Was she musically inclined at all, or was she?
No, my mom is not musically inclined at all. She can't actually. She's tone deaf. I love my dear mother, but she cannot sing a note. She can't even sing Happy Birthday. So I'm really, really glad I got my dad's genes on that side of the fence.
When you start,
but she appreciates music. She loves it. She's just not musical.
Well, yeah, and I'll bet the sing-alongs inside the Pursell home are pretty fun, I would think.
Well, Dad would write a piece of music and he'd say, "Julie, what do you think of this?" And she'd say, "Oh, that's nice. That's nice."
She didn't have it in the soul. I got it. I understand.
That's about as far as it went. That's very pretty.
Well, so here's the question for you. Music, obviously, whether you're involved in it or you look at it from afar, looks glamorous, looks like, wow, that looks like sort of a sexy occupation to do and self-expression. Did you know from a very young age that ultimately that's what you wanted to do?
I think I did. I was very, very, very shy as a kid, but I always wanted to sing. And I remember stacking up the sofa cushions in the front room and belting out, "I am the greatest star," because I was addicted to Barbra Streisand and Funny Girl. And I would close the doors so nobody could hear me. And then, it really took years and years of me moving away from Nashville to really rediscover that again. I think when I was in Nashville, my dad's influence was so big, and it was such a huge he had such a huge influence, and it was a little intimidating. I don't think that I would have really started performing until I had moved away. And when I did move away in my 20s, that's when I started to really get into music. And I don't think it would have happened if I'd stayed in Nashville, which is really kind of sad in a way, but that was just where my path took me. And I fell into the world of jazz. It wasn't country at all. It was much more jazz.
Yeah.
And one thing led to another. And now I'm back in Nashville and recording in Nashville, so everything kind of came full circle.
You know, the album is called The Very Last Dance Hall Left in L.A., which I think is an interesting title. Share with our Lewis at Large listeners, if you would, the sort of the inspiration behind it.
I would love to. I wrote the title track about 15 years ago. I had these lyrics sitting around in notebooks. It's based on a true story. I used to sing in a dance hall. It was called San Gennaro. It was in Culver City, California. And we sang jazz tunes, big band standards. And all of the regulars were people probably, 55 and older. And they would come and they would dance. They would do the boxtrot and the tango and the waltz. It was a very, very old-timey place. It was evocative of another era. And I sang there for about 7 or 8 years, and then the owners jacked up the rent, the place closed down, and all these people had no place. There was no place left for them to dance. And I felt so sad. And there were 3 people who I remember, Roger and Mary and Paul. And if you've listened to the lyrics in the song, I sing about them. It's a true story. And these people came every single Friday and Saturday night and would dance. And Paul had lost his wife, and Mary would dance with Roger, her husband. And after they had done a couple of dances, she would ask Paul for a dance. And it was so sweet and so tender. And I said, I just wanted to memorialize them and write a song about them. So I had these lyrics forever. And then my dad picked them up and put them to music last year. And I was really surprised by what he did, because I saw that song as like a waltz or a ballad, and he put it to this funky Latin forward propelling beat. And when I came home and we were getting ready to record the tune, this was probably, 9 months ago, I said, Dad, I don't know. This song, it's supposed to be a ballad. What are you doing? And he said, trust me, this is going to work. This is going to work. And we went into the studio, and the musicians had such a ball with this album. With that particular track, the drummer, his name is Paul Leem. He played with Faith Hill and Shania Twain, and he loved it so much. He pulled out bells and sticks and percussion, and he was laying down all these layers. And all of a sudden, the tune became its own monster. And Dad said, I have no idea what's happening. I didn't even write this. It kind of created itself in the studio. So it was an incredibly special recording, and we knew when we had recorded it, and I finally figured out how to sing to the thing. This is the title track. This has to be the title track.
Right.
And we had no idea what it was going to sound like until we got in there and actually did it. And who gets that luxury anymore? None of it was really planned. It just sort of fell into place.
Well, if you just joined us, yours truly, Warner Lewis, from the flight deck of Lewis at Large Radio, and we are in the midst of an interesting segment with Laura Pursell. She is the daughter of a well-known session composer, arranger, studio musician, Bill Pursell, in his own right, a brand new work from Laura called The Very Last Dance Hall Left in L.A., a collection, a really, really tasty collection of old standards and all kinds of musical opportunities, so to speak, here. Most of them arranged by her father, which kind of leads me, Laura, to this one. Most people, I would think, might feel a little bit either shy or not withdrawn, but maybe holding back a little bit, actually performing in front of parents in a studio. Did you find that at all, or tell us about that?
What an interesting question. Nobody's asked me that before. That's a great question. No, I'm not self-conscious in front of my dad at all. You would think it would be different, but no, we've done so many live shows together. We performed at TPAC, the Tennessee Performing Arts Center, in 1997, and that was when that was like jumping off the high dive. We did tons of Christmas parties and concerts in Savannah, Georgia, and we went to Russia and sang in St. Petersburg. And when we share the stage together, he's really not my dad anymore. We're members of the band,
right?
And all the father-daughter stuff goes to the side. And it's an interest. So we have two relationships. He's my dad, but when we're performing together, we're teammates, and I don't feel any weirdness at all.
Oh, good. Well, it's been a while, but you also had an opportunity to sing for President and Betty Ford several years ago.
I did. Gerald Ford's wife, her favorite song was "What I Did for Love" from a chorus line, and somebody knew that I could sing it, and I got the call in Los Angeles, and they said, "Can you go to Palm Springs and sing for President Ford and his wife, because that's her favorite song?" So I went to Palm Springs, and I sang. It was a big fashion show benefit, and I got to meet them. That was a really special day. That was a real honor.
I'll bet.
I don't know how well I sang it, but I did it.
Oh, listen, you did. It wasn't that long ago. You, again, because of the exposure that your father had to the industry, he was well known inside and a well-respected studio musician. What about, growing up for Laura Pursell, you undoubtedly came in contact with all kinds of what many people would say, outright music celebrities. Tell us about that. Were you influenced at all by that? Were they just dad's buddies, or did you sort of recognize sort of the magnitude of what was going on?
I never recognized the magnitude of any of it. And to be honest, when they came into the house, they were just people. The one time I remember my sister just about had a heart attack and fell off the chair was when Art Garfunkel walked in. She, "Oh my God, that's Art Garfunkel!" And I said, "Who's that?" I just saw a guy with, he was kind of bald. I didn't know who these people were much at all until much later. It wasn't until really I had moved away, and I would see Dad's resume and all the people he'd worked with. And a lot of the people he'd worked with, I was so young. Patsy Cline, that's before I was born. Johnny Cash, I was so little, I wouldn't have remembered it. Marty Robbins, I don't remember him at all, but Dad was on every single one of his recordings. Chet Atkins, I must have met, and I don't remember meeting him, but he reviewed all my CDs and gave me some really nice quotes. I was sort of removed from it. We were kept at home, and we had a normal. I went to private schools and all of that, and it wasn't. We just didn't talk about what a big deal Dad was. It wasn't really a topic of conversation.
Right. The other thing is, and I'm struck by again with the father-daughter deal. Very aware of the fact that when your father was coming up, so to speak, he played in bands and played in honky-tonks, and on cold winter nights would load things into an old rusty truck probably and go to the next gig. And the thought of getting a record contract probably was far, far away. And when it would actually happen, it was a big, big deal. And the idea of having your music distributed for you, not that it's necessarily easier, but access to push your music out there, so to speak, with social media and all the electronic ways and virtual ways to distribute stuff, it must be an interesting learning experience for him as well.
Dad is still trying to get a grip on the whole social media thing, but I got to say, he's pretty savvy. Yeah. He's got a Facebook page. He understands all the digital distribution. He's really tried to stay on top of that. And now you can get your music out in so many different ways. Rhapsody and Spotify and iTunes and CD Baby and Amazon, and it's good and it's bad. There's a lot of pirating that goes on. And a lot of people don't pay for the music, and that's unfortunate. But at the same time, you want people to hear it. You want to get your music into the hands of people, however it can happen. And hopefully the end result being that they'll come and hear you perform live, and maybe they'll go out and actually pay for your CD.
Right.
It's a whole different world. It's a whole different world.
It also seems like the artist is not necessarily quite as dependent on the record company to do the massive publicity pushes like in the old days. I mean,
Right.
I'm sure they want that, but I would think as an artist now, at least you see, you know what, if nothing, I know I can at least get this heard.
Yeah, you can always get it heard. You know, if you, I mean, anybody with GarageBand and a computer can put out a CD and put it on the internet. You know, so which has its own issues. There's the issue of quality control. You know what I mean? Because it kind of levels the playing field. And there's a lot of stuff out there. You know, and I think that's why the quality needs to be really, really great, and the production needs to be high so that it kind of rises to the top.
Yeah.
You know?
There's no question that the record company certainly acted as a filter for a lot of bad stuff.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we were really lucky when we went into the studio with this because we were given carte blanche to do whatever we wanted. And I told Dad, you know, you have an unlimited opportunity here to write the strings you want to write because he does such beautiful arrangements for strings. And we had the luxury of being able to bring the Nashville String Machine in.
Yeah.
16 strings, which we stacked, so we had 32 strings and a huge rhythm section. It was an old time recording. It was really great, and I defy anybody with GarageBand in a bedroom to even try to compete with that because the quality was so good. I think you can really hear the difference. It's an old time recording. It was all done in a studio. It was mixed in the studio. It was done live. It's a really special recording.
Well, again, we're talking to Laura Pursell.
I think people can hear it.
A brand new work called The Very Last Dance Hall Left in L.A., a wonderful collection of old standards and other tunes, and several of them, again, actually, most of them arranged by her well-known studio musician and just musician and composer in his own right, Bill Pursell. Laura, again, we don't have time to go through all of them, but share with our Lewis at Large listeners, if you would, 2 or 3 of your favorites on the album and how those were chosen.
Well, one of my very favorites is the very last track, which is called Some Other Time. It's a Leonard Bernstein standard. It's a sad song, and the lyrics are basically, you know, we're running out of time, and but time is racing, but we'll catch up some other time. And you know when you hear the song that's never going to happen. You're probably never going to see this person again, but you're trying to put a happy spin on it. And I chose that song as the closing song, and it's a standout track. It's a beautiful, beautiful tune, and I think Dad did a really wonderful job with that arrangement. And it's sometimes it's a hard song to sing. I lost my sister to cancer 3 years ago, and I think of her when I sing that song. So it's very personal to me. And give it a listen if you can. It's the very last track. It's the 10th one. And then there was another track called "I Want to Look Good for My Man," which was written by a friend of mine, John Colton Berry. He's a story editor for the studios in Hollywood. And I had heard him sing this song at a party. He brought out his guitar and he started strumming this funky tune, and he sounded like Leonard Cohen. It was really, really dark and weird. But I said, that is such a great song. And I said, I'm looking for tunes for my album, and I think that would be a really great song for me to try. So he let me have it. And I gave it to Dad, and he completely turned it upside down on its ear, changed it, added the strings, made it perky and fun. And I think it's one of the highlights of the album. It's one of the few up-tempo tunes, and to me, it sounds like a theme for a show. But it's a sassy, fun song. It's called "I Want to Look Good for My Man."
Yeah, indeed. Well, hey, Laura, what about, okay, so we have produced and released the album. Now tell us, what are you doing besides multiple interviews like this one? What are you doing in support of that? Tell us about live performances or what's in the near future for you.
Well, I sing every Thursday night at a place in Los Angeles at the Grove called Mixology 101. It's a beautiful restaurant on Fairfax Avenue, and I'm there with a tremendous jazz trio, a 7-string guitar player, famous guy named Ron Eshtay from New Orleans. We're there every Thursday from 7 to 10. And anybody who's in LA can see me there. It's a great venue. Upstairs, we watch the sunset and sing while the shoppers go by to all the different. It's in a big outdoor courtyard, so it's a really special venue. That's every Thursday. And I'm doing lots of radio interviews. I've got a magazine spread coming out that I can't talk about yet, but that's going to be out pretty within the next couple of months. And trying to get people to listen to the CD and to hear it, and talking to people such as yourself.
How tough was it for you to come up with the final 10 songs? Was it very obvious when you were all done, or tell us about that?
It was, there were a lot of tunes that I wanted to record that I got vetoed on. I wanted to do some Bonnie Raitt stuff, and they were like, no, that's not you. You can't do Bonnie Raitt. I was like, really? I want to do Angel from Montgomery. No, that's not you. Okay, well, it's one of my favorite songs. So, yeah, we had a culling down process. It was by committee. And Dad, I had to pick songs that Dad wanted to arrange. They had to be things that were juicy enough musically to excite him and make him want to sit down and create all these layers. And I was really, really happy with the 10 that we ended up choosing. And one of his favorites ended up being one that he really didn't even want to do. And you can hear the beautiful string pads he had on it. It sounds very, very Debussy. Oh gosh, why is the cat getting my tongue? Do you have the set list in front of you?
Yep, I do.
It's the third or fourth one. I don't know why.
For all we know,
so much.
For all we know,
no.
Well, let me read.
Which I love.
I could read. Okay, I'm going to read. You want me to just read through the list? How about if I just do that?
Read me the list. Read me the list.
The last hit in L.A. I can't help it. For all we know, I'll be seeing you home.
I'll be seeing you. I'll be seeing you. Got my tongue. I'll be seeing you. Dad really wrestled with that one.
Yeah.
But he worked on that for weeks, and he was turning it upside down, inside out. I was like, Dad, if you don't like the tune, we can do something else. No, I'm going to solve this. I'm going to solve it. And it ended up being so, so gorgeous. And it's got this beautiful intro. And when you hear it, you don't know the song that's coming. And then I start singing the lyrics, and it's so pretty and so sad. But I think that ended up being his favorite.
Well, the work, again, is called The Very Last Dance Hall Left in L.A., the artist Laura Pursell, and again, we've been so pleased to have her here. Exciting new work from exciting, not new talent, but one that certainly we'll be hearing a lot more of. Laura, how can people get a copy of the disc, find out a little bit more about you and your career?
Well, you can definitely go to my website, laurapurcell.com. And there are links to CD Baby and Amazon.com and iTunes. It's anywhere you can find digital music, you'll find a copy of it. You can Google my name. It's Pursell with an S, Pursell. And there's no shortage of if you just Google my name, you'll land on it.
Okay. All right. Well, listen, best of luck to you. Please come our way sometime. And again, best of luck with a career. And also, I do have one. Sometimes we ask guests funny questions just for the fun of it. Here's one for you.
Okay.
When's the last time you washed your own car?
You mean like got the hose out and actually washed my car?
Went to the car wash or did it in the driveway?
Let's see. Well, I washed my car 2 weeks ago. I went to the car wash and I had them wash my car 2 weeks ago. And I have a new car, so I like to keep it clean.
There you go.
I have a Mazda 3, so I like the paint job, so I like to keep it clean. What an interesting question, Warner.
There you go. There's your Laura Pursell trivia for the day. Anyway,
trivia for the day.
Indeed. Hey, best of luck, and would love to have you on again sometime.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
You bet. We will be back with more right after this on Lewis at Large.